What is going on, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to another edition of On the Road to Victory. I am your host, Jimmy Smith, and I hope you're all having yourselves a great night. Appreciate you taking the time. We are live here, but if you're watching this later, more than welcome to leave a comment down below. Appreciate all of you hitting that like button, subscribing to the channel. Appreciate all of you new subscribers that have been tuning in. Hope you're enjoying this all-season content. Trying to keep you up to date with all that cap stuff. Tomorrow, got another one coming for you. But look, we got the draft, and it is coming at the end of the month. Let's go. So we are busting out this content. We've been talking about the draft, but here we are. We're going position by position, breaking down each one, talking about all of the prospect tiers, and then going through, looking at the Eagles running backs, and then the best fits at each position for the Eagles. So I'd love to hear all of your thoughts on this. If there's guys on this list you think I'm missing, there's a guy that shouldn't be there, whatever is on your mind, love to hear your thoughts here. But tonight, we're going through the running backs. Last night, we talked about the quarterback, so appreciate all of you who tuned into that. But let's get this thing rocking and rolling. Let's talk about these running backs tonight. My man Luffy in the building. Appreciate you, and everybody else who's tuning in. Appreciate all of you, whether or not you chime in or not, but I'd love to hear what you have to say. But we're going to break this thing down, and let's get into these running backs. And I know there's a lot of questions about this position. So we know that the Eagles, we lost Miles Sanders. We know that there is a certain running back that everyone is talking about with the Eagles selecting at 10. So we're going to try to answer all of those things, talk about all of those things. And look, it's a great question because Bijan Robinson is someone that looks like a generational talent, and he's pretty damn good. So when you have a team that is so stacked on offense and you feel like you're missing, just a running back, the running back you let go, there were some issues, not, running north-south, a lot of east-west going on there. So, look, I think that we know what he would do to this offense, but, the thing, that's always said is Howie Roseman doesn't take a running back. He almost took Dalvin Cook that way. And I think that people forget that, Howie doesn't have to stick to what he's done in the past. So it's definitely a possibility. I've told you, my source told me that Bijan Robinson is somebody the Eagles are enamored with. They love this kid. So it's definitely a possibility there. But I think the question also has to be, who is available there? Do the Bears pass on Jalen Carter? Do you have him there at 10? And the question then becomes, do you take Jalen Carter or would you take Bijan Robinson? Do you find another team that really wants Jalen Carter and, trade back a few spots with that team, find out from the other teams if they're going to be taking him, feel comfortable about it, and then take him at, 14, 15, 16, whatever the hell you got to do. But there's a lot of things that could happen. That's the fun part about the draft, right? There's a lot of possibilities. So I think one of the possibilities, though, is that Bijan Robinson could definitely be a Philadelphia Eagle. And I think that brings a lot of excitement to people, and that should, because he's a great running back. But I think one of the things I've definitely been talking about for a while now, and for those of you who tune in know what I'm talking about, the fact of the matter is I felt Miles Sanders would walk because we could pick somebody up in free agency. We did that with Rashad Penny. And we've got running backs I like here. I'm intrigued to see what Trey Sermon does. I love Kenny G. But I think, this draft is loaded with effing talent. And we talked about this. And I think that you're going to see here, this was really interesting, breaking this up into tiers. And the first one I'm going to show you, I really was just like, holy hell. So trying to figure out where these guys are going to go is ridiculous. And when we get closer to the top there, we'll break down, who the top tier guys are, and we'll talk about that. And I'd love to hear your thoughts as we go through it. But then right after we go, look at all of the prospect tiers, we'll then look at the Eagles running backs and then decide what we're looking for here and what the best fits are. But I'd love to hear what you think the best fits are, or whatever your thoughts are. People in a certain, tier that you feel should be somewhere else. I'd love to hear it. Look, we all have our own opinion, so let's rock and roll. What is going on, Matthew? Hope you're having a great night. But let's jump right into this with the running back tiers. And I started off with the late round guys, day 3 guys from 5 to 7. And I feel like there's some guys that could be more 4th round, 3rd round kind of guys. So I separated them. But there is a lot of running backs in this draft. You can see just by this list right here. This is just the back end. And some of these guys, I feel some teams could maybe feel a certain way and want to take them in a higher round. So look, this is just my opinion here. I think a guy like Travis Dye without that injury, maybe someone takes a shot in the 4th round. Maybe they, take him in the 5th. Maybe he falls because of that injury. So a lot of things went into my mind with a lot of these guys, but these were the guys that I put at the back end. And not to say, kind of give you a spoiler alert here, but not to say that the Eagles shouldn't be interested in any of these back end guys. Some of these guys, fullbacks you see in there, Hunter Lepke, Brad Roberts in there. So I think that, and Brad Roberts can actually run the damn ball. So maybe you got a little use check there from it. But I think that there's definitely some talent in the back end. You can find an undrafted kid to add to the room, just like you did with Kennedy Brooks. So I think you could definitely look for the Eagles to add someone from this group. But this next tier here, these are some guys that, man, when we talk about, Bijan Robinson, if there is someone like Jalen Carter there, I think, man, it's going to be hard to pass up on putting him and Jordan Davis next to Milton Williams, allowing these guys, Josh Sweat on the outside, Hassan Reddick to feast, having, just that rotation of guys. I think, having the ability to put them next to each other, it would really benefit this defense, obviously. So a lot of question marks, but if you do not go with, Bijan, you don't get him, whatever. I think there are a plethora of guys here that you could choose from. And it was kind of hard for me not to say that a couple of these guys, maybe even a team, takes a flyer in the 2nd round, but I'm not so sure. My feeling is there's a lot of talent in a lot of other positions that I think may go. But dude, I'm telling you, all of these guys here are pretty damn talented. And, Cameron Peoples, guys at the bottom of the list to the right there, you see like, Lou Nichols just a year ago was like leading the nation in rushing. So I think, there's some guys, Deuce Vaughn's height is definitely a concern. They could definitely fall. I don't think that they have to go in the 4th round or anything like that, but I think, they could definitely, depending on how this thing plays out, and not just say that there's going to be this huge run in the first few rounds. I just think that these guys have the capability of a team being like, you know what, I'm going to take a flyer on them. And, you see guys like Spears in there, man. Oh, man, he is super talented. And I think, if you're looking to find, a steal, I think that kid could be one of those guys that you take a flyer on, and he could really improve your team. Now, when you're looking at guys like Tank Bigsby, Roshan Johnson, Dwayne McBride, I mean, Zach Evans in there, Mo Ibrahim, we've talked about him, man. And I think that, there is a lot of talent, some injuries and things have gotten in the way of some of these guys, but this running back class is loaded, man. And I think that if you do not get Bijan there, I'm not going to fret, man. And I do feel, we've talked about this, for months. I think the Eagles' focus will be in the mid rounds, but I know the hype has been around Bijan. And look, when you got a guy like that, it's always a possibility. Maybe there's a year where Howie's just like, F it, man, let's go. I mean, I'm all about that, man, if that's what he wants to do. So let's go. Any of those guys from that list, I think, would be exciting in a way. You could convince me depending on what round that would be. Now, we've talked about the fact that the Eagles have 4 picks in the top 94, but after that, they only have 2 7th round picks. So my opinion, with the Eagles having 26 picks in the next 3 years, they're going to be trading pieces. They're going to be moving back, getting more picks in this year if they feel there's someone they like. So if we talk about a guy in the 4th, 5th round, that's in the sense that the Eagles would pick up. Obviously, I know that they do not have those draft picks. But look, we're still going to talk about those guys, and we're going to talk about the Eagles' interest, and maybe they trade back with that 94th pick. Maybe they trade back the 30th pick, go back to the 2nd round, then acquire a 4th and a 5th, so just keep that in mind that we can get those picks. So don't just, count out those guys because we don't have those rounds. So love to hear your thoughts on those first couple tiers there. And look, you could definitely break that down further. But again, I'm not here to do that. We're going to talk about the Eagles fits here in a second, but let's talk about these top tier guys. And these two here, I put them in tier by their own, 2nd, 3rd round guys. And look, man, I'll be real with you, Charbonnet and A-Chain, man. I really think both of these guys are super talented. And if a team, like we were just saying with the Eagles, is crazy enough to be like, man, that guy could really change this team, maybe you're the Eagles at 30 and you didn't get Robinson. You're like, you know what? I'm going to trade back and add these guys. And you could do that at pick 38 or something, and then acquire more picks, whatever it may be, man. I think there's a lot of possibilities here. So we'll get into those guys in a second, but let's look, obviously the top two here. And I've got them as 1-2 prospects just due to the fact that I know that they're first round talent, but that doesn't mean that they have to go in the first round. I think that there's definitely a possibility that, these guys, there's a team that's like, oh, yeah, this running back is going to change the game for me. And I think both of these guys have the capability of doing that. So I could definitely see them both going in the first. But if a team doesn't, go on running backs right away, I'm not going to be super surprised. That does happen. But again, with the talent of those two right there, holy hell, I really think that for me, either of those two, you're going to be excited, whoever you are. I mean, that's generational talent right there. And obviously 2 different backs, but we'll get into them in a second. But those are my tiers. And look, obviously we all have, again, different opinions there. I don't think anyone disagrees that Bijan Robinson is the best in this class. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on those tiers. But next, we're going to jump into what the Eagles have at running back, and then we'll look at the top 10 best fits out of those running backs that we just looked at in this 2023 draft class. I never do this, but I know you don't want to hear me sound like Old Man River hacking up, but I've been roughed up the past couple of days there, so trying to get back, trying to feel good here, but love to hear what you guys think here, but Nolan Murphy ain't going to be mad, no doubt. Zach would be perfect for us. 3rd or 4th round, I would see them, Rob McLeod or Hugh Jazz. No doubt. So let's take a look at these Eagles running backs. Appreciate each and every one of you guys tuning in and commenting in there. But let's get into this. Let's keep it going here with the running backs. And I want to give you guys a look at what we have here and see what I mean when I, mentioned maybe you bring back Boston. Don't think Miles comes back. Well, Miles is in Carolina now. Rashad Penny is the guy we added with Boston Scott coming back. We've got Sermon here. Kennedy Brooks was brought back for the offseason program. So we do have 5 guys here competing, but I think you're going to draft someone, and I do believe you're going to add another undrafted kid. So I think you'll have competition this summer at running back. But look, I like Kenneth Gainwell, Rashad Penny, Boston Scott. I want to see what Trey Sermon could do. Kennedy Brooks, another year, out of Oklahoma. I like that kid. So I'm not upset with that room, but just like we talked about when we signed Rashad Penny, look, man, we got the draft coming up. We got time to improve this room. So, there are people that are upset about that room, and it's, oh, this team's going to fail, this, that, the other thing. And it's like, but the draft's coming, and we definitely have some ammo here. So I would love to hear who you guys think would fit into this team, but let's jump right into this. The top 10 best fits for the Philadelphia Eagles. And man, again, this is a loaded class. So I said the joke you didn't. No, I did, but I'm trying to roll through, my man. But look, I appreciate you tuning in. But I do have to try to keep this to 20 minutes here tonight. But I appreciate you, my man. Now we're going to talk about these top 10 best fits. Up first here at number 10, Eric Gray. And look, again, this was really hard for me to try to just pick 10 guys and where I wanted to try to pick them. But oh, my God. If you trade back, you're sitting in the 4th. You got like an addition. Not an additional. You don't even have a 5th. If you got like a 5th round pick or something, this kid falls. This is somebody that intrigues me. 5.6 yards per attempt there. And I like Eric Gray. I think that, over 3,000 yards there in, 4 years. He had 2 years at Oklahoma, 2 years at Tennessee before that. But, I really like what this kid is able to do. Had over 1,300 yards last year. And, he can catch the ball too. You see that. He's got a few receiving touchdowns there. But I think, when we're talking about the running backs that the Eagles need, it's not necessarily, we've got all kinds of different backs. You added that yards after contact guy in Rashad Penny, but you could still add someone in the draft. And I think this kid right here, he brings a lot to the table. He's kind of a jack of all trades when I, was able to watch him this year, but he runs hard as hell. He's a violent runner. And I like that about, obviously, that's what I'm looking for in a running back. I feel even with Rashad Penny here, you add a young guy like that with Kenny G. And hey, if Rashad stays healthy, then you've got this kid, growing, learning the system. I think that would be okay with me. And look, I think obviously not one of the top guys in this draft, and I'm not giving you the top 10 running backs. I'm talking about the top 10 best fits for the Eagles. But this dude, you talk about a short yardage back, a dude that could just plow over dudes, just bounce off guys. I think this is the kind of guy. He comes off the line fast. I think that, this would be the kind of addition the Eagles fans are looking for, but not somebody that, I think as a receiver that's going to do anything crazy, but you see he can do that. And that's something that Miles Sanders didn't necessarily do. But I think he's like a tougher Miles Sanders, and he can actually kind of catch the ball, but he's not somebody you're going to use a lot. But you got Kenny G for that. I think this kid, I think he would fit in. And I'm a fan of Eric Gray, so I threw him in there. And I think that, there's definitely some other guys we could have talked about, man. And you guys can let me know, whether it be Zach Evans or Sean Tucker, Chase Brown. There are so many names I considered, but a lot of those guys, that were on those lists in the, third, fourth round tiers, I felt kind of compared to Kenny G for me, so I'm not looking for a guy that's of that same mold. And you'll see when we get closer to the top, I'll talk about some of that. But I mean, I just think I like what we have now, but there's certain guys you could add to this room that, would really make me excited. Best fits. That's what we're talking about. So the next best, and this kid, Muhammad Ibrahim. And look, he's 24. I get it. He's been banged up. So, people want to have knocks on him, whatever. But, dude, last year had over 1,600 yards. He had 20 touchdowns last year, 53 in his career. Obviously, you see at the bottom there, not much for catching the ball there, only 22 receptions in his career. But look, he did have 5 years there. And I think that, with that injury, obviously that's a kind of a bad thing. But look, I still think at 24, he's got something special he brings to the table. And we've been talking about him for months. My man Dante had jumped into one show. We were talking about him. I was on with my guy, Lord Brunson. We were mentioning Mo Ibrahim, and I think he brings a lot to the table when you're talking about those tough physical runners that you want to add. And yeah. Another thing he can do is pass protect and pick up those blitzes that we struggled with as Eagles fans. We know how much that drives us effing crazy. So I think that's somebody that you could really add to the team. He's not somebody that's going to blow you away with speed, but I think he's got some great quickness and he's got great burst. So if you watch his tape, man, I really think that, he runs dude over. He's another little bowling ball here, but look, he's another guy that's not exactly a great receiver here, but hey, maybe, given the time and working in the right system, he could do some things. And I really like this kid. So somebody I had to put on this list, and really excited to see where he goes. And I would definitely be pumped if that were the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, up next, we've got at number 8. And this guy, once, I'd mentioned Zach Evans. Once Evans left LSU or TCU there and went to Ole Miss, I believe it was, Kendre Miller was able to step up. And I'm a big fan of Kendre Miller too. And, without the injury history to, a guy like Mo Ibrahim, who I just showed you, I think Ibrahim could drop to a lower round. The same thing for Eric Gray, where, because of that injury history, that could help us grab him in a later round. And I'd be super excited. But another team could take a flyer on him, understanding how good he is. Now, you miss out on something like that. You got a young man here, Kendre Miller, only 20 years old, 6 foot, 206 pounds. He's got good size, but almost had 1,400 rushing yards last year. You see in his 3 years has over 2,400 yards, 6.7 yards per rush attempt, 26 rushing touchdowns. He only has 1 receiving touchdown, but I was really impressed with what Miller was able to do, and that was a good TCU team. But I really thought he was impressive. And, he's actually somebody I think if you put him in this offense, the RPOs and catching out of the backfield, I think he would actually do pretty well with that. And he's somebody that's got great vision. So I think just get that dude the ball in his hands. I think he could do some special things. And I think he's also somebody that's good in pass protection, something I'm definitely looking for. So I think that, you want to add that, and a guy that runs north, south, and he runs tough, man. And I like him, but sometimes he can be a little too uptight. And I think that, he has his issues for sure, but he's still very young. I mentioned he's 20 years old. I think put in this system, man, we could really allow him to blossom, as Nick Sirianni would say when we drafted him. But I think this kid would be really exciting. And I know, with Evans there, it was hard for both of them to really show what they had. But it was a best of both worlds for both of them when Evans went to Ole Miss there. So I think that Kendre Miller, for me, somebody, again, if you trade out, the 30th pick or one of those second or third round picks, and you move back, you're in the fourth round, maybe. Yeah, you want to take this kid. I would not be mad if you missed out on someone like a Bijan Robinson. So that's what we're keeping in mind here, that, this is all under the thought process that, maybe we didn't get him, but don't worry, we'll get there. But we're talking about these guys that, are in this draft. And I'm telling you, this draft is loaded, and it was hard for me to pick 10. I wish I had more time. I would have created 20 graphics for you and broke it all down, but want to try to pick the best fits here and keep it rolling. So we'll keep it rolling at number 7 here. I know this is a guy that a lot of people are fans of in Tank Bigsby. I know the name. Oh, yeah. But honestly, he's not that much of a tank. Like, he is a physical runner. But I think out of Auburn, this dude, the Eagles had a meeting with him, another 3-year guy. But last year almost had 1,000 yards. The year before that had over 1,000 yards. And look, I think, another kid, we've talked about him for a little bit here. Not another guy that doesn't, do great in the receiving game, but he can. I mean, I think given the opportunity, and if you've watched his tape, when he gets the ball in his hands, I think he can do some special things. So you have to keep in mind, where these guys are playing, who their quarterback is, what their offense is. So I think this dude, just because he doesn't have reception touchdowns, take that stuff with a grain of salt here. But I think for me, Tank Bigsby is somebody I am intrigued by. Now, I'm not taking him as high as, some people are saying. I think, 4th round, I would be okay with that. Again, if you traded out and had that kind of pick. But I just think that this kid is somebody that I would not be against. I think that, another physical dude, and he is a good receiver to me. I just think that put in a system like the Eagles, he would fit, and he would be able to learn under a guy like Rashad Penny. And I think that would be perfect. And, I think that he's got those powerful legs, and he can run physical, and, you bulk him up. Let's get him over to the bro barn, but he runs pretty damn tough, man. And he finishes. And that's something I like to see. Only 21 years old. And he's got some great vision, some great patience with his running. He was somebody, that I really enjoyed watching this past year. And I think, somebody that would fit in well here. But, again, some of these guys, they fall because of the fact, I don't think that they're top tier, but I think they can blossom into that. And he's one of those guys that I think if you beef him up, he really would turn into a tank. I think people get, misconstrued, like, oh, his name is Tank, so he's got to be a tank. But I think that, this is somebody that, given the time, given the right system, he will be special in the NFL. I don't think necessarily he has to be an every down back, but I think he could be, man. He really possesses all those traits. I like him. He's just going to have to do some things to improve his game, but I think he's one of those old school backs I really enjoyed watching. 6 foot, 208 pounds. So a young kid, again, that only 3 years under his belt, only played in 35 games. So I think that he could really add someone to this offense like him. And I would not be mad about that at all. So let's jump into number 6 here. Now, this is not the Texas guy you're waiting for, but it is a damn good Texas running back in Roschon Johnson. And look, we've mentioned him before because I know Bijan gets a lot of love, and rightfully damn so. But hey, imagine what it's like for Roschon. And pretty neat that, he didn't transfer there. And this is a guy that started in Texas as a quarterback in his freshman year, and then the last 3 years spent as a running back. But I think for me, this dude, super talented. And a lot of people just didn't really get to see him because, well, again, you've got Bijan Robinson in front of you. So this dude's great in space. I think he would work out pretty damn well in this offense. A guy that's a north-south runner when he needs to be, and that's something we're looking for. And he's got great feet for his size. He's 6'2", 223. So, a tough dude like that. I think that, he is just a powerful dude that added to this offense behind a Rashad Penny. And look, again, I'm excited about Penny. Hope that he stays healthy, and he's one of the best after contact. So I think a young man like Roschon Johnson, given the opportunity to learn under someone like him, would be really great. So look, I think that's somebody that I would be pumped about adding to this team. But I don't know how great he does in blocking. And I mean, he can, catch the ball too. And that's something I think you love about a guy that's physical like him. So, not something I think is one of his best attributes. So, like, oh, yeah, this guy's like a receiving, dual threat guy. But, dude, you see right there 56 receptions, 420 yards, and 3 touchdowns. So, he can get the job done there. And I think that, people will be surprised, if given the opportunity, what this kid can do. So, do not sleep on this young man. I think that, he could really do some special things depending on where he ends up. But if the Eagles are looking for a physical back, you miss out on Bijan. Maybe you get his mate over from Texas at Austin, Roschon Johnson, and 22 years old, but 6'2", 223. I mean, the dude, if you watch him, he looks like an NFL running back. And, these guys are going to keep continuing to get bigger and more muscular. It's the NFL, man. So all about it. Yo, my man, Drew, appreciate you tuning in, dude. Try to reach out to you last night. I knew it was going to be hard for some people. It was going to be a late one, but my health was pretty rough. And it was all a dream. I thought I could breeze by through the quarterbacks, messed up with the one guy. Bo Nix actually went back to college, so my apologies there. But, dude, drifting out to sea. But running backs, I was more than excited to do this one. Hopeful to see you guys tonight. And I can't wait to talk about the receivers, the tight ends, the offensive linemen, D linemen, linebackers, corners, safeties. Dude, all of those positions, Eagles really should be looking into. And we're going to discuss them just like we did with this one, what the Eagles have at each position, and then what we should be looking into. What is going on, my man, Sean? Appreciate you tuning in as well. Hope you guys are all having yourselves a great night. Appreciate you, Mrs. Bird Gang. Tell Mr. Bird Gang I said what's up. Hope you and the family are doing well. Hope you guys have a happy Easter. I know I'm ready for the damn draft at the end of the month, so trying to get on by here. But we're about to jump into this top 5. I'd love to hear your thoughts on those prior running backs and who you've got as your top 5, top 3, whatever it may be. Let's go. Only one that thinks that Bijan would be a bit of a reach at 10. And think, well, we will talk about him here shortly. But let's get into this top 5 here, ladies and gentlemen. At number 5, this is a guy that this may be a little bit of a surprise here, but that's fine because we're talking about who I like fitting with the Eagles. And some of these other guys I really do like, and I pondered putting them in front of him and then had him switch, and they're probably different on that list I showed you. So, hey-oh, let's go. That's how my brain works. But let's ride with number 5, Dwayne McBride. Wow, okay. So you see a young man here at 21 years old who I think this kid is pretty effing fun to watch. Now, of course, he went to the University of Alabama at Birmingham. So, of course, not exactly the same competition as a lot of these guys. So I get it. A lot of people, little skeptical. His ball skills, ball security. I'm sorry. Little iffy there. So something, I think he had like 9 fumbles, I want to say. I can't remember exactly. But, man, something you want to be concerned about. But if this kid were to fall, this is somebody I really liked watching. And I think that, 7.3 yards per rush attempt is pretty effing good. And he's pretty fun to watch. A patient runner, somebody with great vision who, again, I think you have to look at the competition there. But I think, dude, watching him, how tough he was, really just a balanced runner. His contact balance after getting hit, he's really fun to watch. Now, again, it's going to be a different level of competition. 5'11", but he's 215. And if you watch the kid, his frame, I really think, you just bulk him up some. And I think this dude, he's going to be an effing beast. He's a dude that I think that another tough as nails runner, a guy I like to call, the violent guys that will just run you the F over. And I think that he's somebody you should definitely, if he is falling, you should be looking into. But I think it's somebody that is going to be difficult, with those issues to just throw in right away. So it would be perfect, if he has running backs like Kenny G, Penny, Sermon in front of him and, allowing him to be groomed into what he needs to be. But 36 rushing touchdowns. I think this kid, he would fit perfectly into what we do here, with the RPOs. That's kind of what he was running there, predominantly there. So at UAB. So for me, the question marks are, can he catch the ball and can he pass block? So they rarely ever even used it. It was almost impossible to try to find what was going on there. So I can't say that, I almost like held it against him, and I don't want to hold it against him because I didn't really see much of it. So think he had maybe like, what was it, 10, 11 targets, I want to say 9 maybe even, but he's got 5 catches, 29 yards. I mean, again, it's UAB, so take with it what you will, but he had over 1,700 rushing yards, 7.4 yards per carry last year, so over his average there. His freshman year, he averaged 9.3 yards per carry. So, I think that he's a pretty fun guy to watch. I'm not going to lie to you. So, I mean, man, I would definitely consider looking into what this kid, can do. And if he falls, he would be somebody I would be perfectly fine with. Now, this top 4, this is obviously come down to those top 2 tiers that I had, those 4 guys. And this was intriguing for me because we talk about, what we have already, but that doesn't mean anything. Just because the Eagles have something already doesn't mean like, oh, I'm not going to draft this guy. Like if they think somebody's really good, they're going to take that, running back. And that's what we're talking about tonight. So look, we're going to talk about some top dogs here at this position at quarterback. No, we're not going to do that because the quarterback position, we're set there. We have our QB1. We just signed the veteran that we need, Ian Book. I think you'll add some competition, maybe with one of those 7th rounders or an undrafted kid. So I think for me, you're set there at a position like this. Oh, yeah, be looking everywhere because the Eagles just lost their top running back. We've got running backs, but we're always looking to improve. And if we trade back, there's going to be some intriguing things. But if not, you saw McBride there. Maybe, as we talked about, if you miss out on, one of those top guys, if you're in with one of your 2nd or 3rd round picks, you've already gotten a defensive lineman, you've gotten a safety or a linebacker that you really like. And again, it's always best player available for these guys. They don't care about what they've already gotten. But I'm just saying, just talking about this, if a running back, you feel okay, like you're not going to take a running back if you've already got one. So that's kind of what I'm inferring here. So implying whatever. So I think that, with this next guy, if you've missed on these people, you haven't taken one, and he's going to be the best player. If he falls anywhere, if he's in the 3rd round, holy crap. Because I think this guy definitely could be taken in the 2nd, just with his skill set, man. Oh my God. He's pretty effing fun to watch, but Devin Achane, 21 years old. I know he's 5'9", 185, but we as Eagles fans don't give a damn about that weight. That's right. But you see 6.4 yards per attempt there. He can catch the ball, run the ball. Yeah. If you've ever watched him, he can do everything. He is effing explosive. Last year had over 1,100 yards, had almost 200 yards receiving. So, but in the return game, let's go. He averages like 30 I think it was like 30 and a half yards on kick returns. Let's effing go. That is somewhere I feel very strongly about with the Philadelphia Eagles. So once we talk about those special teamers, this kid's going to be brought back up with his special team stats. So I am looking forward to seeing if anyone takes him, where they take him. I don't think this is someone you have to take because we talk about what we have in Kenny G. We've got a smaller back, the 5'10", 200-pound guy. But this guy's even smaller. But this is a guy just like Kenny G. You could be lining up in the slot. You can have him all over the field. And with Nick Sirianni, I'm excited to see what Brian Johnson's doing with this offense too. But I think, we're looking for guys in open space that can do things. And this dude, he is a track star. If you don't get one of those top guys that's fast as nails, who I'm talking about. But this dude, oh my God, he's elusive as hell. So this is the kind of guy we want in the return game. This is what we're looking for. But look, man, we talk about what he can do also in the run game. I think, his vision, finding the holes, hitting them, I think that is what helps him in the return game. And I think that this kid, he would fit in just fine. And for his size, he actually does run between the tackles. He's not somebody that just, is an outside zone kind of guy. And I think that he'd be one hell of a player for the Philadelphia Eagles to add. And I just think he's tough as nails for his size. And man, if you're looking to get that run game going, looking to add to, just a playmaker to this offense, you're looking to be like the Chiefs and just add playmaker after playmaker just to, get guys on the field that can make plays. I'm not against this at all. I think Achane he's pretty damn phenomenal. I'm not going to lie to you. I really like him. And this is why, if you do not get Bijan Robinson, I'm not going to lose my mind. And again, I really like Bijan, and we're going to talk about that here in a second. But I think for me, this kid, obviously, he's 21 years old. He's got time to bulk up. He's 5'9", 185. I get it. But if you watch him play, he's actually pretty tough for his size, and he's somebody that I would welcome in happily to the Philadelphia Eagles. Give me some Devin A-Chain, please, and thank you. But now we're about to jump into this top 3. Love to hear your thoughts so far on this. But look, you got some studs in this draft, and I've told you before, but we're taking a look at them now. But if there's anybody you feel I should be talking about, you want to hear about, let me know down below. And I really appreciate that, Mrs. Bird Gang. Hope you guys are doing well. And of course, as always, go Birds. But I appreciate you guys. Really do. Tuning in, my man, Drew. Let's go. Appreciate seeing you. Hope you and the family, the new baby, are doing well, my man. Really happy for you. And another congratulations to you and the family, my man. Wiltz, happy to hear that. Hopefully I give you some ammo in the barber shop for tomorrow. Well, hopefully actually you have off, or, well, I guess it's only my kid has off from school. So that always makes things very fun. But, I think, with this Easter break coming up, hopefully I can provide you guys with some ammo, but it is also my birthday Friday. So I told you I'm going to have a lot of family stuff going on this weekend. I'm going to do my best to keep pumping out that content, get you ready for this draft, but I've got it set up where we've got some time where I won't leave you hanging. You'll have this stuff, in advance of the draft, and then we'll be able to break down who my pick is for the Eagles at 10. I don't give that away just yet, but I'll talk about it, what my feelings are. But I only pick once in that show. For those of you who tune in, you know how that goes. We do that one mock draft, and then I tell you if I like it, how it played out, how I feel it's really going to play out in real life, not what the computer tells me. And we talk about what I think the Eagles should do. And look, I appreciate all you guys who've been tuning in. But Wiltz, hope you had a great day, man. I'm glad it was a long day. So hopefully I see that money symbol. So making that dough, my man. That's what I like to hear. So appreciate you tuning in, dude. And I'm going to be making a video early tomorrow, some salary cap update for you. So you're going to have so much ammo throughout this off season. Do not fear. And after the draft, we'll be talking about more free agents. We'll talk about who the Eagles have, how they fit, what's going on with the schemes, all that stuff. Do not fear this off season. It's just begun, man. The chaos. What is going on, Liz? Appreciate you tuning in as well. Let's go. We got a party in here. Wiltz, Liz, hope you guys are having a great night. And of course, Drew, and hope you guys are doing well. And yes, we did talk about Mo Ibrahim. I think would be a great fit. 24 years old, has got some injury history, but dude, another bowling ball running back that we talk about that, can catch the ball. And he wasn't used too much in that area, but I think in this system, I would love Mo. And I think I get the injury concern, but maybe that allows him to drop. I think that maybe we trade maybe the 30th, one of those second or third round picks, acquire a 4th or 5th. If he falls, grab him. So yes, we did talk about him. If you check it back out after this, Sean, love to hear your thoughts after this video. Those comments help the post live comments. And I always love talking with you afterwards too. So truly appreciate that. What is up, my man? Seamus in the building. Yo, appreciate you, my dude. I'm getting old as hell, and I appreciate you as well, Seamus. Appreciate you tuning in and for that early birthday. Look, my girlfriend asked me, she's like, what do you want to do? You keep it. I'm like, dude, I'm old. I want to relax. But here's the thing. It's Easter weekend, so my brother wants to come up, so that's cool. We're going to hang out with him, and I do want to spend some time with the family. I'm not trying to be Grinch. It's just I'm at the age where it's like, I don't know, like, oh my God, I just feel like I'm getting old. So that's all I really think about. But enjoy them while you can, kids. But let me get my cane out and finish this top 3. Love to hear your thoughts, ladies and gentlemen. But this guy at number 3, we talked about him earlier. I really think this was tough for me. Putting him in that category of second, third round, I think this kid could definitely go in the second. But man, what if a team, if there is a run on running back, sorry about that. But I think that this dude is actually quite talented, and I think a little slept on here. I've been hearing a little bit more about him, so I think people are starting to realize who he is. But look, I thought he was pretty impressive at Michigan. I remember watching him. Then he transferred to UCLA, and dude, last year he had 1,300 yards, and man, was he fun to watch. 14 touchdowns, 7 yards per carry last year. He's 5.9 in his career there. And, all 4 years combined there. 39 rushing touchdowns. He has no receiving touchdowns there. But, last year he did catch, 37 for 321 yards, and that's 8.7 per reception. Now, again, put in the right system, used with the right coaching, the right team. I think, that's great. But this dude, look, I don't care that, again, the stats are for you guys. I think you take it all with a grain of salt. But this is the kind of guy that, your prototypical running back, 6'1", 220. And we've been talking about this, but we're getting closer to that guy that really just has it all with less of the baggage there. So I think this dude, I mean, he's got the size. He's got, he's a tough dude, but he's got some good speed too. And he's, another one of those guys that's fighting for the first down we talk about all the time. And, throughout this, last couple of months, we've talked about adding that. We did that with Rashad Penny, but I do not feel that means we're not going to do that in the draft. That's why we're talking about a lot of these guys, as my man Sean just brought up, Mo Ibrahim. I think all these guys I've mentioned have some of that in them. This dude's very effing physical if you watch him. So go check him out. I really think you'll fall in love with Charbonnet. I think that, obviously Bijan Robinson would be anyone's top choice in this draft. But if you miss out on him, you get Jalen Carter, then you want to take him at 30, or you're like, you know what, not taking a running back at 30 in the first round. I'm trading back to 36, acquiring a fourth and a fifth. I still get a damn good first round material running back, possibly. I mean, he's on the fringe there for me. But I think this dude, he has it all. And again, a lot of these guys have the same theme. He's got great vision. He hits the hole like we've talked about that, with a lot of these guys that I feel we need on this team. I don't want to see the dancing. And this is not a video to knock on Miles Sanders if you guys feel that way. I'm just saying this is something we have been lacking. But one of the knocks on him, that I feel could make him drop, or the Eagles may be hesitant, is one of the things I've been looking for that he lacks, unfortunately, is haven't seen much in pass protection, but I'm hopeful for a guy as tough as him that it could be taught. And, having, the guys that we do on this staff makes me confident. Jamal Singleton with these running backs, I feel confident. Jeff Stoutland helping everybody with the blocking techniques, how to play with the offensive line, what they're looking for. I think, a kid like this, he would do just fine. But look, he's not exactly the quickest, but he is fast. I think that he's got something that, something where you look at his game and you're like, okay, this dude is just that kind of guy you're looking for in a running back, right? But he's not somebody that is going to beat out Bijan Robinson. That's what I'm trying to say. I think he's got talent, though, where you're not going to be upset if you miss out on Bijan Robinson. I think Charbonnet is a pretty damn good running back, but do not try to misconstrue my words and say that that's what I'm saying, because he's in a completely different tier, as we talked about earlier in the video. If you missed that, go check out those tiers. But I think that, a lot of great running backs. You just saw them all, but there's two we've got left here, and let's go. But think about being alone all the time. Oh, man. Oh, hold on. Wouldn't be upset if we miss out on Bijan. There's talent to be had. Really like we could find an answer in special teams. Yeah. And look, I think if you miss out on Bijan, you add one of those guys that's got that, return capability, and you have running backs that I feel pretty comfortable with. So I'm not going to be mad about it, but let's jump into that in a second here. And only a few minutes. Oh, man. Hopefully you get that alone time and you get to enjoy some of these videos, my man. Zach Charbonnet over Bijan at 10. He brings more value if we get him in the second. Well, that is exactly what I was talking about, my man. And I appreciate you tuning in here. And look, exactly what I was just talking about there. I think that, behind this offensive line, you have to understand that a lot of these guys, I picked them because they hit the holes. They're going to do what this Jeff Stoutland has this offensive line doing, why this offense works so well. And, I think people don't realize, it's like, oh, yeah, you could add a top running back for sure, and it would be great. But, man, you could add somebody in the later rounds, and you don't even have to add Charbonnet. But as I was just saying there, maybe you trade back from 30, you go to like 38. Maybe you really do want him, and I could understand it because I really like him too. So it seems like you agree here. So look, man, I think that there's so many possibilities, so much talent in this draft, and there's a lot of positions Eagles are going to be looking at. So if they really like somebody, we've got ammo, man. We've talked about the 26 picks we have in the next 3 years. They want to move up, move back, do something, whatever they want to do, they can do it. So I think, with Gainwell, Penny, Sermon, Scott, all duking it out, Kenny Brooks in there, I think adding someone into this room, you're going to feel pretty damn good about it. And it doesn't have to be one of those top guys. But speaking of those top guys, let's get into it. And before we get into Bijan, talked to my brother the other day. I've talked to a lot of you guys, and you've asked me, about Jahmyr Gibbs because, well, what if you miss out on Bijan? Do you get the next best back? Well, in my opinion, I'm a big fan of Jahmyr Gibbs. I think he's effing phenomenal to watch. Clearly at Alabama, he was whooping ass. But, just like we talk about some of those guys going to the smaller schools, I think you also have to keep in mind, he's playing behind that Alabama line. But keep in mind, 2 of the years he played was actually at Georgia Tech. But last year behind Alabama, his 1 year at Alabama, almost had 1,000 yards. But again, that that offense is loaded. He had 6.1 yards per carry last year, 7 rushing touchdowns, 3 receiving touchdowns. And you see 8 receiving touchdowns in his career, 15 rushing. Only 31 games there, but 5.6 yards per attempt. But, man, again, take these numbers with a grain of salt. If you've watched him, you know what this kid brings. I've heard the Alvin Kamara comparisons. I heard somebody say Jamal Charles at one point. I think, he definitely reminds you of that. I hope it's not just because of his damn dreadlocks or saying that, but I guess I could see it definitely because, he's got to work a little bit, on some things, but man, he's a great pass catcher like those guys. He's fast as hell if you've ever seen him. And, he's one of those guys that it's kind of the opposite of what we're looking for, though, in my opinion. You've already got your 5'10", 5'11" guy, 200 pounds in Kenneth Gainwell. And I'm not saying Kenneth Gainwell is on the level of Gibbs, but I think Gainwell is actually pretty effing good. And I think people are sleeping on him. And I think that he brings exactly what he brings to the table. And it's going to take some time to, get this kid maybe, with the Eagles getting some reps. But on another team, this kid's playing right away. I mean, he's a superstar. Add him with somebody with a power back and you're whooping ass all day. So holy hell, this dude. I mean, if you've seen him, he's super fast. So it's not that I'm against adding him, but this is another smaller guy that cannot pass protect. And I'm not saying he can't pass protect, but if you add him into this offense, I do think he's actually kind of tough for his size, 5'11", 200 pounds. I'm not saying that he's not somebody, and I've actually seen a comparison to Deebo Samuel as well. And I think that he's not Deebo, but he's faster, but he's got that skill set where you can use him all over the field. You can line him up in the slot. He can do it all. You can use him in the return game. So it's another guy where it's like, he's pretty phenomenal. But if you want to go for somebody, a smaller back, I think you go for A-Chain due to the fact that this dude is actually an effing returner and you don't have to go as high like you probably do for a guy like Jahmyr Gibbs. And, I've said this before, but I'll say it right now on the running back show that I think Charbonnet could go in front of Jahmyr Gibbs. It's really just going to depend on what kind of running back a team is looking for. So if Bijan Robinson goes and a team is like, damn it, really just needed a running back here, maybe it's that's the Eagles. Maybe you see Zach Charbonnet go over Jahmyr Gibbs, and that's definitely a possibility. I know, some people may not like that, but that's just my opinion, man. So I really like Charbonnet, and I do like Jahmyr Gibbs. I think, Gibbs is the better prospect, but I think Charbonnet would be a perfect fit for the Philadelphia Eagles. So not to say that Gibbs wouldn't fit in here and he couldn't, but I just wanted to put these top 2 guys as the top 2 because I want to talk about them and they would fit. Okay. They would, because look, let's be real here. They're effing phenomenal. And you could have Kenny Gainwell and he, getting snaps, and you could have actually Gibbs returning the ball because Gainwell doesn't really do that well. So he hasn't been given too many opportunities, but the ones he has, it's like, maybe that's why. So I think you could, and I wouldn't be mad about it. And when my brother was talking about that, I was like, yeah, man, I really think he's an exciting player. And again, back to that comment I made earlier, just like the Chiefs, you're looking to add talent. This kid falls. You're like, damn it, I can't not take him. I get it. I'm perfectly fine with it. But let's get into that number 1 that I know you all want to talk about. And that is Mr. Bijan Robinson. And at the ripe age of 21 years old. And look, this dude, I mentioned it earlier. We talk about generational talent. This is that guy, 6 foot, 215 pounds, another prototypical running back. And I hope you've been watching him because in his 3 years at Texas, 6.3 yards per attempt last year at over 1,500 yards, ran for over 6.1 yards per carry, had 18 rushing touchdowns, only 2 receiving. But dude, he can kill you in the air and on the ground. This dude, he is that jack of all trades. And he's being talked about at the 10th pick for a reason. When you see a running back like this, now everybody knows, running backs a lot of time, especially in today's NFL, dime a dozen. So look, they only have a few years, this, that, the other thing. Well, if you're looking for a running back on his rookie contract and you're looking to run him into the dirt, well, this is the kind of guy you want to get. So Bijan Robinson, man, holy hell. I mean, what else can I say about him? He was the best running back in the game last year. We all know exactly who he is. So it just comes down to the question of, is this what the Eagles want to do? And obviously, when you watch him out there, I mean, just his everything. He's literally all those things we just talked about in this video, his vision, it's hitting the holes. I mean, he could go between the tackles, outside in the zone. He can catch the ball. His pass protecting, maybe you want to work on a little bit, but I think he was actually pretty good at it from what I watched. So I think that, for his size, though, the way he cuts, the way he moves, man, his footwork, his contact balance, he is somebody that I really enjoyed watching. But, it's not somebody that, you're going to hear someone like, well, what's his 40 time? And it's like, that's not the stuff I'm really looking for. And look, this guy, I think maybe he dances a little bit too much for some people, but I think, he's one of the best running backs we've seen coming out for a while here. So I understand the hype. I understand why people really like him. But the question becomes, do the Eagles take a running back at number 10? And for me, I do not think that you take him at 10, especially if Jalen Carter is there. Now, I think if you miss out on like the top corners, you miss out on top offensive and defensive linemen that you were looking at, then I think it could become a possibility, because you've seen a year where they took Rager, right? They just like someone and were like, F it, let's go, let's do it. You take your guy when he's there. So if they really do love Bijan Robinson, which I have been told from a guy that literally works with these effing people, so it's a very big possibility. I do think so. But I think what's more likely is the fact that you could trade back and try to get him 15, 16, like something like that. But you're talking to other teams. But it's going to be, how do you feel out this draft? And he's going to be the top guy. So you can't wait for someone to take a run on him, right? Because he's the guy if you want him. So if you really like him, take him. And I think that this offense is set where it's like, oh, man. Now, I've also been told they really like Skoronski, but they're in love with Jalen Carter. So if Carter's there, I think you take him. And then you find one of those backs that we talked about in one of those mid rounds, and I'm perfectly fine with it. But Bijan Robinson, if you lose out on Carter, if, you wanted Witherspoon or Gonzo or whoever the hell it was at corner or whatever you wanted, I think that, maybe they just take a flyer on somebody finally at running back. And I understand, Howie hasn't done this, but Howie also hasn't done a lot of things, but it does not mean that he can't, So for me, keep an open mind here in this draft. Anything can happen, but this is going to be tough. When I make my final decision on who the Eagles are going to take at 10, I don't know that I'm going to be able to come to terms with saying a running back, but it's a possibility. So let me just tell you that from my source, those were the 3 names that he gave me that they love right now. So take it with what you will, man. If either of those linemen, this is why I always tell you, be prepared for the trenches. And people are, what are you talking about? Like last year when I said we're going to take Jordan Davis, just be prepared. And I think Jalen Carter would be a great pick. I know he's got legal issues. Hopefully he figures that stuff out. His pro day looked pretty rough. Hopefully it was just because he was going through some stuff and he gets it figured out mentally, physically. So hoping the best for him wherever he goes. But I think that, the Eagles are a great team. Jalen Hurts, the leader, but you've got your great friends and Jordan Davis, Nakobe Dean here. So I think that would be a great pick. I think there's a lot of options here, and trading back is definitely an option, but so is trading forward. Maybe you want to go to 8, jump in front of the Bears, take Jalen Carter. There's so many options in this draft that it's going to be hard for me to decide who we're taking, but Bijan Robinson is going to be in that realm of possibility. So love to hear your thoughts, ladies and gentlemen. That's all I've got for you tonight, but I'd love to hear it. Who is your number 1? Who do you want the Eagles to be taking? Whatever is on your mind, I would love to hear it. Whether you're watching this now, watching this later, would love to hear it all. But my man, Wavy D, let's go. Organization, we have the staff capable to take rate. Yeah, exactly. So we talked about this, especially yesterday with quarterbacks, and we've talked about this last couple months. Do not sleep on, free agents after the draft, the undrafted free agents, the guys that nobody's paying attention to. The Eagles love finding diamonds in the rough. So Exactly. Hope you're doing well. Appreciate you tuning in. Just getting headed now. But if you rewatch this bad boy, put a lot of work into it, love to hear your thoughts on it, dude. A lot of great running backs in this draft. And I'd love to hear all of your guys, thoughts on these running backs, who you would take, and maybe some guys you would like to hear more about. But I appreciate that, my dude. And can't wait, man, to hang out with the family. Gonna enjoy this damn Easter. And look, hope you guys all enjoy your holiday with your loved ones, family, whatever you're doing. But I do not like Boston Scott on kick return. He's average. He gets the job done, but I want somebody explosive that actually brings something to the table. Why corner when we have Slay and Bradbury for 3 years plus Greedy? Because you always want to be getting better, developing players and looking to the future. And Slay and Bradbury are, one of them's 31's about to be. So always have to be looking toward the future. Generational talent, really, I'm asking Ernest. Only see highlights, some other breakdowns. Look, I really think, and I've said it, people talk about him being a generational talent, and I think he could be. Everything I've watched, he is pretty effing fun to watch. Now, I've heard comparisons to LT and things. Now I think you're getting, a little intense there, but I can see it, and that's a high ceiling to give someone, but it's like, what's his floor are you talking about here? But I think that's the great thing about him. His floor is, dude, he's definitely a 3-down running back in this league. That's somebody who I think you add to your roster and you're excited about. Now, I think you have to ask yourself, Drew, do you look at guys like, Dalvin Cook? Do you think that he is a generational talent? And I think that this is a guy that, comes in, he adds all those facets to the game. He can catch the ball, run the ball. He can do those things that they talk about with LT and, Cook and all those guys. But it's like, generational in the sense that, this guy is going to be talked about as, this guy is it. So I get it. And I think that he could be. I think that, he definitely, I'm not going to brush him off because I do it every year to people. I'm like, no, because you hear it every year. They get enamored with this guy running over someone or this guy doing something. But it's just the fact that watch, this guy's tape and go watch his game tapes. Like, see if you can look up, like, what I do is go in, look up the bad games. Well, look up the good games, then look up the bad games and watch the tapes on those. And what you got to do is understand there's going to be good and bad. This is college football. But I think for me, Bijan Robinson has such good to him where it's a year where I'm like, oh, okay, now I kind of understand, where it's coming from. And as I watch him throughout the year, it's like, damn, this kid's pretty phenomenal. But he led the nation with 104, I believe it was, missed tackles this past year. So you look at what he's able to do with the ball in his hands, and it makes sense. And you want guys like that on your team. And I think in this RPO system, he would be, bro, it would change the game. It would. We talked about what it did with even Kenny and Miles there, having Jalen Hurts, that RPO, having the weapons we do at tight end receiver, having the offensive line that we do, unstoppable. So you add someone like Bijan Robinson, I think he becomes that generational talent because he's got that system. So it's going to depend where he goes, just like it does for anybody. But I think he does have that talent where he could really be the next big thing, where, yeah, he's pretty effing good. And I think he's only going to get better. Still very young, 21, and he's only going to get bigger, badder, and really excited to see where he goes and what he does in the NFL. A lot of talent for sure, my man. What do you think about Kareem Hunt? Look, we talked about him being out there, but I think he's going to cost you too much. We already got a free agent that I like, so I think we're more focused now. We've got Trey Sermon there. You've got guys that I like competing. You're going to look into the draft and the undrafted pool. So if those guys you don't like, there are some dudes still available like Kareem Hunt, but I think there's some cheaper options that we talked about still available. And don't worry, as soon as this draft series is done, I'll talk to you about the best available free agents still remaining. So, ladies and gentlemen, appreciate you all tuning in. If you're watching this later, I'd love to hear your thoughts, but thank you to everyone who was commenting for the early birthday wishes, all of that. Thank you very much, but I hope you're all going to have a great weekend with your families doing all of the Easter stuff. I will be back hopefully tomorrow with that receiver show. Again, this is going to be a crazy week, so stay tuned. Turn that notification bell on so you know when I'm going live, but appreciate you guys hitting that like button, subscribing, all the things you're doing to support the channel. But until next time, I am Jimmy Smith, and this is On the Road to Victory. You all have yourselves a great night. Stay safe out there. And as always, say it with me now. Go Birds!